Hey guys, Todd James here. In a previous video, I talked about the perfect customer. And that customer was one who was buying based on need as opposed to want, and who was spending money that wasn't theirs. They were buying for their company, they were buying for their business. And I explained in that video why that made for a very lucrative opportunity to sell these people things that they needed in order to satisfy, say, professional requirements, if you will, things they needed for their job as opposed to just things they wanted for their own personal life. In this video, I'm going to talk about where to find those people, and I'm going to give you a couple more examples now that you've had time to think about that first video, because this is not something I see people talking about. In my opinion, it is the most lucrative type of sales to engage in online. That's the best way I can say it, really. You're not selling trinkets. You're not selling, phone cases. You're not selling jewelry. You're not selling, things that have limited value and are kind of these shiny objects that so many people seem to want to sell you online, that a day or two after you get it, they just aren't going to mean a whole lot. We're talking about selling here to people who have a legitimate need for a product and who are more concerned with getting that product reliably than they are with what that product cost. And that gives you the opportunity to charge full retail, if not retail plus, because they're buying the service and the convenience as much as they're buying the product. So again, if your brain is generating heat and burning up because this is just not what you're used to hearing, I invite you to watch this video more than once, ask questions, leave comments. I'm going to follow up on this as much as necessary, because once again, I think this is the most lucrative way of doing business, whether it's online or whether it's if you're a brick and mortar supplier. Nothing beats selling to someone who doesn't have any stress involved in giving you a credit card number or writing a check. It's not their money. They're not going to spend a lot of time thinking about it as long as this solves the problem that they have in their life. Let me give you an example. I'm going to give you one example right off the top of my head. This is a market niche that I was involved in several years ago, and I didn't get out of it because it wasn't working anymore. I just moved on to other things. But it involves selling air filters, but not air filters for your home. I was selling commercial air filters. And my market segment was actually automotive body shops. They use air filters to keep the dust down in the shop itself, and they use air filters in their paint booth to filter out the paint particles and stuff and keep them from getting into the shop, and to make sure the people in the paint booth don't die. So these are not filters that, like your home filter that may, in your air conditioning unit, you may forget to change it and it may go years without being changed. These filters are changed on a regular basis. Body shops buy these filters, depending on how they're packed, they buy them hundreds at a time, because these filters are changed on a very regular basis, in some cases daily, depending on the volume of the body shop. So this is something that's satisfying a need. It's not a want. These body shops can't function if they run out of filters. They have to have these items. And think about that for a second. And just think of all the other businesses that have various things that they have to have in order to conduct business. The next question is, how do you find these people? Well, depending on the business, your options are quite varied. With body shops, you can target body shops with Facebook ads. In my particular instance, because of the time that I was doing this, I actually bought an email list from a public mailing company, and I sent out an email blast to about 4,000 body shops in the United States. The list cost me about $1,100. I recouped that $1,100 within about 5 days. You can buy a smaller list that would cost you somewhat less. So if you're working on limited funds, you can probably get a couple of thousand names for around $500, or a couple of thousand email addresses for around $500. Send out that email blast. Show them that you've got filters for their machines, and unless you're just completely off target in terms of your pricing, you're going to see immediate response. You're going to probably see immediate orders. So have everything together. Have your ducks in a row. Make sure, if you're doing this on Shopify, make sure that your store is set up properly, that you are actually processing payments properly, because you're probably going to see immediate response. But for these buyers, it's not so much a question of price, it's a question of convenience. So if they go to your site and there's an issue, that may be a buyer that you have essentially paid for, but that you've lost forever, because they're going to think that your site is just not functioning properly. They're going to find what they need someplace else. But this is one example. I don't want to go too deeply into that one example, but think about the various items that any particular business, if there's a business that you have some expertise in, this should be easy for you. If you've ever worked in an office, if you've ever worked, most of you have worked for a company somewhere, think about the things that that company uses that they can't function without. And then think about a way to supply them those items via, say, a Shopify store or an Amazon page or even an eBay listing. And I think you'll start to like this idea. I think it will grow on you. Once again, I'm going to point you to an example, and that is uline.com, uline.com. I'm not picky on them. I've actually have bought products from them before myself. It's a great company as far as I know. But go to their website, order their catalog, and take a look at all the various things that they sell and the prices that they charge. And I think you're going to be surprised at the prices that they charge. Typically they're at retail, maybe even retail plus a little bit, because once again, they're providing a service more so than they are a product. They're making it easy for a business owner or someone who purchases for a business to get the items that they need, as opposed to chasing down multiple vendors. And people are willing to pay a premium for that, especially when it's not their money that they're spending. So once again, take this all in. If you haven't done so already, please hit the like and subscribe button below.